Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and this is day 2 of me trying to figure out what I want to do for my new intro, but I still really don't know. So let me know in the comments down below what you think. Should we bring back Carmen and cookies? Maybe? That could be a blast from the past. Alright, today I have a bunch of Karen stories for you again from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Nicotine Amy. Karen tells me to stop the ride, so I did. The day I made a Karen cry. I work at an amusement park and we have this ride called Moby Dick. This ride is 100% controlled by the operator. A couple of weeks ago, this woman and her friend came up to my ride, making fun of one of the kids that were on the ride. She was saying so many hateful things about how they look. Without even looking at her, I told her to stop. And this is how it went. You're literally talking about a 7-year-old like that? You need to stop or you will not be allowed on the rides. But it's true, look at them. Don't disrespect other guests, please. It's not okay. Her friend even said, "Stop, Karen, before you get us in trouble again." Whatever. When the ride was finished, I started letting the next group of people in. I say, do not pull down on the bars and pick any seat you'd like to everyone as they walk in, since pulling on the bars can break the seats over time. I let a group of young boys in before Karen's group, and they sat at the end seats. Karen marches over to the kids, yelling at them to get out of her seat and that she paid to sit at the end. Miss, please stop yelling at the kids, or you will be removed from the ride with no refund in tickets. Don't tell me. Karen's friend spoke up again. Stop it, Karen, just sit in the middle. She complained the whole time walking to the middle seats and then pulled down the bar. I was thinking it was time to get a manager over, but I didn't want to bother them with her. Once I got everyone seated, I closed all the seat bars. When I was checking the seats, Karen's one was on the loose side, so I pushed it in a little to make it tighter. You're trying to kill me. First you left my seat open, now you're making it so I can't breathe. I ignore her and keep checking seats. When I finally start the ride, I slowly rock it, and Karen is screaming to take her off, so I make the ride go faster, doing full circles now. Halfway during the ride, Karen screams, "Stop the ride, you effing bee!" She wants me to stop it? Fine with me. I park the ride at the top of the ride like I do when closing, but keep the ride on. The 6 others on the ride weren't scared the ride stopped. Karen started screaming bloody murder, crying, and begging to be let down. The parents watching know what she said before to the kids and know what's going on and start laughing. After around 30 seconds, she is screaming, "Let me down still." So I do on the fastest setting. I start the ride spinning full speed. I made the ride a little longer since all the kids were having fun. Before I open the seats, I scream a warning. Wait for the bars to fully open and stay above your head before getting up. Stay seated. Karen pushes it up and gets up, having the bar fall back down and hit her in the head. Her friend laughs at her and gets up, walking her off the ride. Opie added a little comment down at the bottom. It says, "Sorry I'm not good at telling stories, but felt like this belonged here and that at least one of you would enjoy." Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Connor54321. It says, "Points to you for standing up for the kids. On a side note, I need to try this ride." Opie responded and said, "It has many names for it, but I know it as Moby Dick, and if you do try it, the left side feels like it goes fastest, since the left side goes faster for some reason." Another commenter down below called Erectus said, "I feel sorry for that woman, not because she got what she had coming, but because of how hard the road to being a better person is for that messed up soul. Hopefully she starts listening to her friend more often." Okay, everybody out there in Karma Stories land needs to let me know if you were disappointed that this story cut off when it did, because I want to know how Karen handled that after she got bonked in the head. Did she berate OP more? Did she get kicked out of the park after doing so? There's so many details here we don't get, and I kind of feel like the justice boner just isn't going to happen. This story comes to us from quite the opposite, yes. Karen, the building manager, probably regrets her wording. I live in a housing cooperative. I have no idea if there is something equivalent in other countries, but I live in Norway. It's essentially where you own your own apartment, but the cooperative owns the buildings and the land. If you're going to make changes to the building, you'll have to apply for a permit. Otherwise, it's generally do as you please, as long as you don't bother your neighbors. Anyway, I put up a small greenhouse on my private patio, as many others had done, but not this exact type. This was an aluminum construction, not a frame with a loose plastic cover kind. The building manager, who is best described as a triple Karen, threw a fit. She actually watched me spending 3 days assembling the greenhouse, then the next day she called me and threw a fit. Not because I put up a greenhouse, but because I had used screws to fasten it to the patio for stability. Apparently, I was not allowed to use screws on the floorboards, as this was considered changes to the building in her mind, and I had destroyed the floorboards. Never mind, the whole patio was built with, wait for it, screws through the floorboards. Screws in the wall were okay, she told me, in response to me asking why she'd put up shelves on her patio herself, but not the floorboards. Apparently the difference was monumental, and everyone should just know this intuitively. Nowhere, literally nowhere, does it say fastening things to the floorboards or putting screws in the floorboards is not allowed. Not in the house rules, my contract, or in the National Housing Cooperatives law. But she was furious I had done this. I took a deep breath, and as I am quite creative, I immediately thought of a workaround. I'll just put it on wheels then. I made a big number of saying that fastening was essential because otherwise the greenhouse would not be stable enough to withstand wind. She said she understood this, but I had now ruined the co-op's property, and this was a really serious matter. She told me to send an application for a permit to see if she could find a way to get approval from the board, but she could not guarantee I could keep it. She said with the fakest of sympathies. So I sent the application with photos saying what I had done and that I didn't think I had to apply to do it, as I never considered putting in a prefabricated greenhouse would be seen as changes to the building. My application was rejected as I anticipated, but she worded the rejection exactly as I hoped she would. I was not allowed to put in a fastened greenhouse, and she probably thought she'd been clever when she included that I was not allowed to put the greenhouse on my front lawn either. I had worked the "it needs to be fastened to be stable" angle hard because I hoped she, as the Karen she is, would fall for that reverse psychology. So I proceeded to put the greenhouse on wheels. I made a frame from 2x4s and put 8 small furniture wheels under the frame. I then lifted and screwed the greenhouse onto the frame. I put some boards on the sides just above the ground to stop the draft. Boom, mobile greenhouse. I can slide it all over the patio. I put some hooks in the walls and used transport straps to secure the whole thing to the wall for stability. The walls were okay to put screws in, remember? So in effect, my greenhouse is now in the exact same location, 4 inches taller, and with ugly blue ribbons tying it to the wall. And the patio now has 22 open screw holes ready to be filled with rainwater in the fall. But oh well, as she's repeatedly told me, it's not my patio. Then I sent an orientation email to the building manager with photos and videos of the sliding greenhouse, with the rest of the board members on copy, where I explained in detail what I had done, and how every step was in compliance with the rejection email I had received, which I of course included. I said the greenhouse was now to be considered a piece of mobile patio furniture, just like my sofa and chairs were, and that I now considered this subject to be a closed matter. I have not heard a single word from any of them. It's been over a week. I think I got her. I can't imagine she'll find a loophole that lets her legally dictate what patio furniture is allowed and not in the co-op, since the patios are stated to be for every apartment owner's private usage. So when Christmas comes, I'm planning to decorate the greenhouse with lights, make it pretty, because every time Karen steps out her front door, she has to face my patio where she is looking straight at my greenhouse. The least I can do is make it pretty for her, right? OP added a couple of edits down at the bottom. The first one says, "Edit, thanks for the awards and upvotes. I am humbly appreciative. Some background: I'm a 39 female. I've lived here for 10 years without a single complaint. Karen is the new building manager. Being the Karen she is, which means highly narcissistic female, she's using my greenhouse as a way to establish her newfound authority. Make an example. I didn't give her permission, so the greenhouse got to go. It's not about the holes. It was just the only argument she could use to get me to take it down, especially since I had argued hard that it needed to be fastened for stability. And I am going to take care of the holes. I'll either fix the holes or change the few damaged floorboards. And I told her this on the phone. The damage is no big deal either way. The greenhouse is my therapy. I suffer from PTSD. So keeping my therapy is kind of a big deal to me. Not trying to get sympathy, just saying why I decided to fight her on this. OP's second edit says, update October 1st. I don't know if Karen learned about her Reddit infamy and felt stupid, but today I got a new email from her. She's now letting me keep the greenhouse because it is now a mobile unit. No mention of the holes in the floor, but she was careful to remind me that any loose object that damages the co-op's property, if the wind gets a hold of it, is my financial responsibility. Well, I'm really not too worried about that. The straps are designed to hold 1.25 tons each, and I've got 3 of them. Plus, there's this amazing little thing called insurance. Now that I've got in writing that my greenhouse is approved by the board, I'm pretty sure I'm covered on the off chance the 6-ounce plastic windows manage to break free from the frames and straps and wreak havoc on the neighborhood. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Bam Bam Kablam. It says, are pink plastic flamingos easy to acquire in Norway? In the US, they are reasonably common and extremely tacky lawn ornaments. You could include a mobile plastic animal menagerie on your patio. Maybe even dress them up in seasonal outfits to celebrate the holidays. That, with the lights, should complete the effect. Okay, while I really like the idea of the pink flamingos on the balcony, I think a little bit more fun could be had with this as well. When you're putting up the Christmas lights, OP, you could arrange them in the shape of a middle finger pointing directly at her front door. Just, to let her know exactly what you think of her. Alright, just a quick note before I get into recording the next story. I live in Canada, specifically in Ontario, and we've gotten about 5, maybe 6 inches of snow just this morning. So my neighbors are out there scraping away at their driveways right now. So if you hear that scraping sound in the background, well, I just can't find any time where they're not making noise outside, so I gotta get the recording done. My apologies in advance if you hear it, but hashtag Canada, hashtag snow, hashtag get me out of here please. This story comes to us from Salvia Moria. Karen wants her ID checked. I work in a casual fine dining restaurant in a downtown area. Prices aren't crazy, but high enough that we don't get a super young crowd. I would say average age of our dinner crowd is 30 to 60, although it varies more on the weekend. I only include this information so you understand why I didn't initially ask for identification, even though you should always check. Thursday night, a table of 4 comes in for early dinner, 2 Karens and their daughters. Excellent. I'm ready for them to split entrees and tip me 15%. Not the worst type of table if we're being honest, but nonetheless. They order a picture of sangria, and I tell them I'll be right back with that for them, to which Mama Karen says to me, you really aren't going to check these girls' IDs? Her birthday was just last month. Aren't you supposed to check anyone who looks under 40? She is correct, of course, that I should have asked for identification, even though the girls were with their mothers, and I was being lazy by assuming they were of age, since their moms did not stop them from ordering drinks. I agree with her and tell her that I actually am supposed to check all IDs regardless of age, and proceed to look at all 4 of the ladies' IDs. Unfortunately for Mama Karen, her birthday was a few days previously, and her ID had expired. In the state of Michigan, it's illegal to serve alcohol to anyone with an expired ID, regardless of age. So I had to deny Mama Karen a glass for the sangria, while her daughter and friends shared a pitcher. I didn't really have malicious intentions, however, it felt good that Karen's antics backfired on her. Opie added a quick edit on down at the bottom. It says, I didn't include details of Karen throwing a fit when I denied her a glass of sangria. She informed me that she, a business owner, is more aware of the law than I, a mere server, could ever be. I simply couldn't just do my job and bring her a glass. My generation doesn't respect elders and blah blah blah. Her daughters were a little embarrassed, I believe, but I tried to move past it and serve them the rest of their meal normally. Karen kept huffing and puffing, but said no when I offered to bring a manager over. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Caritas1234. It says, had this happen once working at a gas station. Lady comes in after parking her truck right next to the door in what is clearly not a parking spot, walks to the cooler and grabs a case of beer, then comes to the counter and asks for a few packs of cigarettes. Ask her if she had any gas, she says no. Got to start scanning and she laughs, aren't you gonna ask for my ID? Even though she's clearly in her 30s or 40s. Sure. Can I see your ID, please? She takes out her bedazzled as F phone with a flip wallet on it and can't find her ID. Takes out her wallet, can't find her ID. Sorry, ma'am, I'm afraid I'm not allowed to sell these to you. As some of you may know already, my wife and I used to own and operate a convenience store, and we managed a second one as well. And we dealt with ID issues like this all the time. We were supposed to ID anybody who looked like they were under 25. And I'm a really bad judge of what age somebody actually is. So I would ID quite a few people. And once you ask for ID in Ontario, if they're not able to provide it, you can't sell them any age-restricted products, period. That led to some pretty pissed off people, but you know what? It's better than me getting a $10,000 fine because I made a mistake and sold to somebody underage. So, you know what? You can be pissed off all you want, but just do it outside the store, okay? Bye-bye. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and give us a 5-star rating on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.